Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 3 of Just a Couple Thoughts.
We made it, boyos.
To the big number 3.
Big 3.
Yep.
You know, we're up there with One Piece and Naruto and Bleach. We're up there with the big boys now.
I miss those days when they would call it like the big 3.
Oh, yeah. Now it's just the big
One Piece. I guess technically you could say the big several because, there's My Hero and stuff like that. But anyways.
Isn't it fitting that One Piece is just the only big one left?
I mean, it was always the most popular one.
Yeah, but
Maybe not in America, but It was always the most popular one. But anyways, well, we're back, and for our third episode, since our first episode had a little bit to be around, it actually has one comment on it as I'm recording this.
Oh, yeah. I think I know who it is.
You think you know who it is? Well, there's no point of saying who it is.
Yeah, there's no point in saying who it is, but I think I know who it is.
Well, it doesn't matter. You guys can go into the first video and point it out. I don't know if we should point out usernames. I don't have my phone with me right now, so it's fine anyways. But the question was in relation to the first episode, because you talked about rhythm games for a bit in the first episode.
I did.
Yeah, and you were talking about how you like rhythm games with like a tactile feel. That's why I like games like OS and like buttons and stuff like that, instead of like touchscreen arcade games like Technica. So the question was, what about Taiko? Do you like Taiko?
I do.
Yeah, because we talked about it for a bit.
I'm just not good at it.
Yeah.
So I have the PS2 version, the Taiko Drum Master or whatever it's called. I don't remember what it was called in its US release, but I have the PS2 version. I found it. It was a great find. I found it at a GameStop like years ago, and it was like $20 or something like that.
I wonder how much that costs now.
It was like really, really cheap. It was like maybe $25, and it came with the drum, and it came with the game.
Okay, no, that's really cheap. That's actually really cheap.
It was so cheap. I thought it was just gonna come with the
game itself.
The game, and then they're like, "Here's the drum," and I'm like, "All right." And I had some like wooden dowels that my grandpa was using because he was making this like fruit picker thing. I don't really remember what they were for. Anyway, so he had like these little wooden dowels, and they made great like sticks
for Taiko.
So
I don't know, like when those Taiko games released, did they come with like actual sticks? Like
I think they came with actual like little plastic sticky things.
Oh, so they weren't wooden. No, okay. Yeah. So our first response, like we said, we see the comments, so we will respond to every single one we see.
Yes.
Until, like I said, we get too big. But I will actually go back every week to all the episodes and see the comments to them. We're not gonna like now all of a sudden like, well, episode 1 we got one comment, so we're not gonna read any more comments to episode 1 anymore. No, I'll go back and read them until we start getting like, I guess, 100 comments. Yeah, more like 20 comments, right? 20 comments a week is when I'm be like, all right, this is getting a lot, right? We'll start responding. Or maybe 20 questions a week is when we stop being like, okay, we're gonna try to filter things now, and that's when I'm gonna start cherry picking stuff.
I hope we get to that point. Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be.
That would be kind of nice.
Like that's not even like in terms of views, or like in terms of just like actually knowing that there's someone to talk to on the other side. That would be nice.
That would be nice. That would be nice. We're not just talking into the void or to our friends.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Hi,
friends.
I'm so glad that, because we had a couple friends, we had dinner with them. And they were like, yeah, we like really enjoy the podcast. And I was just so shocked. I was shocked that anyone was A, listening, and then B, enjoyed it. Like,
well, the first 2 episodes already has more views than just our friend group, so
that's true.
So obviously someone that we don't know at least has seen it.
Nudge, nudge, hint, hint. I have been advertising on Instagram a little bit, just a cho bit. So,
And honestly, like, if you know a friend that likes podcasts, send us to them. Like, because I know, like, I listen to podcasts a lot, right, when I drive. So it's nice just to have something in the background,
yeah.
just to listen to like their conversation, stuff like that. That's why I listen to like Hello Internet or like Week Among Recap and Coffee with Clemps.
I also listen to, like, even though they're not a podcast, but now they will have one, Fact Fiend.
Oh yeah, the Fact Fiend videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like listen to them as if they were a podcast. So when they made that announcement video saying, "Oh, we're gonna do a podcast," I'm
For
like,
the money.
for the money, which I'm like, that is very nice. At least they're honest, you know, very transparent.
Those dudes are pretty cool, honestly. I like. I get a lot of my random facts from them, and I also get a lot of my random facts just from like random things I just think of and just doing like Wikipedia searches. But like the things they talk about is pretty fascinating. A little bit off topic though.
They don't need our advertising.
They really don't. They're way bigger than us.
Yeah, now they're gonna do it for money.
Literally all the podcasts I just talk about are way bigger than us. They don't need any of my help. So you don't have a topic today, right? You just told me earlier, right?
No, I don't have anything for today.
So I guess it's my turn to bring a topic, right? There are a couple questions I want to save to later on because I feel like those would be like more in-depth questions.
Okay.
But in order for the audience to know us more, what is something? Of course, this is both. I'll start first. But what is something like back then that you media-wise, like a movie or a show,
Back when?
like
Sorry.
something you feel nostalgic about? I'm not gonna say like back when you were a kid. It could be back when you were a teenager or back in like even high school. That you look back upon and like, oh, that really impacted me in a different way. Like, not a personal example, but I know a lot of people who like watch Gurren Lagann, to bring up an anime example, and that really affected the way that they watch anime and like the way that they not even critically absorb media, but like what they like in anime.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess a personal example for me would be there's two examples. One's an anime and one's a game, right? And one I already talked to you about. So the anime one, the thing that really impacted me the most that I feel look back and nostalgic about is actually Clanad. And you kind of know that already, right? You watched only the first season of Clanad? You never watched After Story, right?
No, I didn't watch After Story.
Yeah.
It was funny because I heard about After Story from a mutual friend of ours, and he told me, "Oh yeah, in After Story, I mean, if you don't know the ending, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. Although it's been years, but I'm not gonna spoil the ending for you. Okay?
Honestly, spoilers for everything and anything. Like we might not spoil like if it's anything current. Like let's say we have a podcast on like the Affinity Endgame movie, whatever. Yeah, we're not gonna say like we're gonna do spoilers like off the bat. We're like, okay, at a certain point, spoilers warning, because I feel like it's current enough, right?
Yeah, like Clanad was like, I mean, After Story came out maybe like 10 years
I think
ago.
I'm gonna give everything like a year buffer in terms of this podcast. So if it's more than a year old, it's spoilers, guys. I'm sorry, you had a chance if you really was that interested.
Yeah,
honestly, because I feel like if you really were that interested,
you would have checked it out by now.
You would have checked it out by now, yeah. A year is long enough. And if you're saving it, I feel like the instant we begin to talk about it, because we're not gonna like jump right into spoilers. We're not gonna like, oh, Harry Potter, Dumbledore dies at the end, right? We're not gonna just do that. The instant we talk about it, just pause it, skip the episode you want, because I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna put timestamps to when spoilers begin and end because we tangent a lot.
That reminds me of when we were driving in the car one time and we were talking about Final Fantasy VII, and then you were like telling me like, oh yeah, so that's when Cloud remembers that he had like
Oh yeah, because you were telling me at like what point your dad got into when he was playing Final Fantasy VII,
Yeah.
and I told you the context of that scene, and it just spoiled it for you.
Yeah. Hardcore.
No, I'm sorry, but to be fair, you were talking about it, so I felt like you knew already, and it's been long enough.
I didn't know. I didn't know about it. It was awful.
So I guess if you don't know, the scene that she's talking about is when Cloud was in the wheelchair and Tifa was taking care of Cloud. And I was like, oh yeah, that's the scene where Cloud remembers everything and he realized that he's been pretending more or less to be Zack, right? And like, and you didn't know that part, and that kind of spoiled like most of the game for you.
I was like, this is unbelievable.
I mean, to be fair, it's not like it's a pretty big spoiler, but it's not like a super critical spoiler that will like ruin the story, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a big spoiler. It's kind of like okay, it's kind of like how saying, how can I give an example that you would know? Like in Harry Potter, right? It's like saying like Harry's a Horcrux, right?
Oh, it's like something that you could have like, you're like, oh, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, like that's a spoiler. That's a pretty big spoiler, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like in terms of enjoying the Harry Potter story, it doesn't ruin it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like in Final Fantasy VII, saying that, oh, Cloud thought he was Zack the entire time, that's a huge spoiler.
I agree that it doesn't ruin it.
Yeah.
But I'm also saying that, like, man, that was
that sucks because you didn't get that experience.
It sucked. I was like, man, dang it. Because I didn't remember that scene or the context of it at the time, so...
No, I'm sorry about that, but like to be fair, I thought
you know, that's fair.
You're talking about it kind of like as if you knew, so
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, but back to what I was saying, like Clanad, that's right. Clanad was one of the first animes that made me fall in love with anime. I don't know if you remember that because there's two distinct animes, technically three, that made me completely fall in love with anime, which was Clanad, Baccano, and the technical third one was Inuyasha, because that was my very first anime. Right? And don't ask how Inuyasha was my very first anime. It just so happened to be like that. I kind of like skip over all the time slots where like Naruto would show up. I never woke up early enough in the morning at the time to watch Pokemon or any of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Whatever. So it just ended up being, oh, Inuyasha. This is a cartoon. It's on Adult Swim. I'm up at like 11 p.m. for some reason as a kid. And I just, I ended up watching Inuyasha. But the reason why I pick up Clanad in particular is because Baccano is a really fun watch. But I feel like Clanad is a very emotional watch.
Yeah.
Right? It's a show that really hit me emotionally. Which, like, I feel like a lot of people had when Clanad came out. Like, a lot of people have a really, like, a soft spot, I guess, or a place in their heart for Clanad, right? Especially in the anime community and people who've seen it like back when they were like in middle school, whatever. Because that's around when I first watched Clanad.
That is also around when I first watched it as well.
And like the first season, like I remember back in high school, like, oh, the first season is okay, but after stories where it's at, right? And I still agree with that sentiment, but I also think I gave the first season like not, I was a little bit too harsh on the first season because the first season is surprisingly solid, right? It hits on a lot of very emotional points for all the characters. I feel like I'm not being too focused about this. I feel like I should focus down on it. Clanad, for me, was a very emotional watch because when Clanad came out, it was released at a very perfect time. I'm not going to go into Clanad too much because I feel like if you haven't seen Clanad, you should watch it. And if you've seen Clanad, then me going into it, you already know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when Clanad was released, it was at a very emotional time for me. So watching the show, and especially watching how the main character is with his dad and his issues with his family, kind of really hit hard for me at that time. Because I remember when we were first going out and we talked about Clan Ad together, right? I remember when you were talking about like your favorite scene from Clan Ad, and it happened to be like similar to what my favorite scene was.
Was it the basketball one?
It was the basketball scene where Nagisa was out there, and she was with the basketball and asked
Okazaki.
Kazaki to teach her how to play basketball. You surprised that you remember the names? I barely remember the names, to be honest.
I have no idea.
Honestly,
I don't know how I remember. I don't even know if that's his name. It just sounds right.
okay. Look it up. I feel like I'm wrong.
Yo, who was right? It is him.
It is Kozaki. It's Tomoyo, right? Or Tomoya. Tomoya Kozaki. The girl with Tomoyo. Yeah. One of the girls Tomoyo, not Nagisa. One of the girls Tomoyo. But Tomoyo, like, and he was and she wanted him to teach her how to play basketball, but that's when he shows that like he can't play basketball anymore. He can't do the thing that he wanted to do anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the scene that really hit hard for me because that in the context of the show, like he was someone who liked playing basketball a lot, and like that was like kind of his dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to have his dream kind of like ripped away from him by someone like his dad is something that very hit hard. And I never had like an experience like that. Like my dad never took anything away from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to have that feeling of like being unable to do the thing that you always wanted to do, or being unable to do the things that you loved doing, right? That's a thing that really hits hard for me. That's why I say Clan Ed was a very emotional watch for me, because it hits hard on the things that affects me the most, right? Not only like my like kind of insecurities at the time, like because at the time I was very insecure of like what I can do, but in terms of like even the main point of the story, the romance, right? Because I feel like most middle school boys out there, I was a lonely middle school boy, right? So Clan for me was kind of like my, how can I say this in a way that doesn't sound completely weird and lonely? My surrogate relationship.
Yikes. Well,
even that I don't feel is completely right.
I mean, it's like what you like. I don't know. It's like something that you could relate with, and it's not what you aspired to be, but it's. What am I trying to say? It's like something that was so relatable that you felt like you could be a part of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because like the characters are their own characters, right?
Yeah, but the situations are
real.
Yeah. It's something that you could, like, somebody you knew could be in that situation.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from like
all the weird drama.
Yeah, the weird drama, the weird harem thing.
Well, it's more of like the situations aren't real, but the emotions are.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Like when he first sees like Nagisa or whatever, and she's under the street lamp, and it's like just in this whole like everything is dark and everything is like, you know, it's snowing, but around her it's like this like just like she's like this beacon of light in his like, you know, in his world, basically. And I was like, wow, that's like, it was like, you know, really obvious symbolism,
but it's effective.
Yeah, but it was so good because it was true for him.
Yeah. Like, or like the entire sequence where Tomoya gets close to Nagisa's family. Oh, gets close to her family, and like they become kind of like his family even before they officially like become family. That is something that also hits hard for me, right? The fact that you open up to other people in that way. That is something that also hits hard for me. So, Clan Knight is a very much of a story, or it's an anime that hits hard for me in terms of the emotional level, because it shows that it was like the first thing that showed me like how media can affect you, right?
Yeah.
It was like the first series that showed me like that affected me in an emotional level rather than just an entertainment level,
Right.
right? And man, Clan was a hard first one to hit you on the first emotional level, I gotta say.
It is pretty tough. It's pretty tough. Although I didn't watch After Story. So.
After Story is where most of the relationship stuff happens, obviously, because that's the story where Tomoya and Nagisa get together, right? And I feel like there's a lot less parts that hit me emotionally in After Story, even though it's significantly better in terms of romantic story. There's a lot less parts. Like I said, the main part of After Story that hits me the hardest is all the family aspects, where Nagisa is with Tomoya is with Nagisa's family, where Tomoya has to support his own family, where he reconnects with his, I think it was son, I think, and everything like that. That hits me more emotionally than the actual romance itself. The romance is great, don't get me wrong, but the family aspect, because if people who don't know me out there, family is something I never really grew up with, right? I had a very fractured family, to put it lightly. So to watch a character with a fractured family basically get his own hits me very hard when I see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the only person in my family that I was really close with was my dad, right? And even then, like I am a first generation Asian American. So the language barrier between me and my dad is huge because I can't even speak my own language, right? So put that in perspective in terms of my family, that to not grow up with a family like that and to watch a character kind of get his own and be happy at the end about that, that hits me harder than anything else of all the tragedy in Clanad.
Hey, you kind of lived your own Clanad.
In a way,
if you think about it,
I live my own through you. You're my nugget, except you're not, terminally ill.
I'm not terminally ill. I'm not as attractive.
So I'm better than Clanat.
Not as attractive.
I disagree.
Well, that's very sweet.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by like, is there anything back then that you media wise that you've seen that really colored your way of seeing things? Like I said, Clanat is something that made me see things on a more emotional level rather than an entertainment level.
I almost had to look at my shelf because that's kind of how I judge like something was like worthwhile if it's on my shelf. I do have one thing that I saw that was like, it wasn't, I don't know if it was like, I have a couple things. Some of them aren't like, one of them is Tech on Concrete.
I still haven't seen or read it.
Tech on Concrete is probably, I think people would say it's kind of pretentious. And for me to like it is kind of pretentious because it is in a way, it's kind of like, I feel like a little artsy and a little like symbolic with a lot of its themes.
Do I know the mangaka for Tech on Concrete?
Well, I have it right there. It's Taiyo Matsumoto. So he did Ping Pong.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what his thing is,
I think I know what you mean by it's kind of pretentious because a lot of people who like ping pong, there's two types of people who like ping pong.
Yeah.
There's people who like ping pong because they just happen to watch it or they watch it through someone recommending it. And there's the other kind of people who watch it because they're pretentious. And they're like, oh, I watched it when it was airing and I didn't care about the animation style.
Yeah. But did you watch it when it was live action? I don't think you did.
Did you?
I didn't actually. I saw the ad for it.
Because it used to have like all those magazines, right?
I did have all those magazines. I had Shonen Jump, and I think it was in, it was in Otaku USA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to subscribe. And if you don't know what Otaku USA is,
I feel like a significant part of our audience don't know what Otaku USA is.
It is a magazine. I think it's based here in maybe the Bay Area. I'm not sure. But like it's a magazine published. It's a real thing. And it basically talks about anime, talks about games. And if you ever knew what like New Type was, man, now I feel kind of old. New Type magazine and Otaku USA are sort of similar in that they both talk about anime and manga.
It was basically like the Japanese culture version of a Game Informer.
Yeah, so it talks, yeah, basically. And then like, but New Type used to give DVDs, which was really cool.
That's cool.
They used to give like little sample DVDs, like with Shuffle and
Oh gosh,
yeah.
Shuffle.
Yeah. They used to give sample DVDs, and so did Otaku USA. I think at one point they did, but I think they used to also do posters too. Anyway, not to get off track, but JustACoupleQnA I think is a really solid animation. The animation is solid, and the manga is really good. I really like the art, which, if you know my art preferences, is not surprising. That I do like the art for JustACoupleQnA. It's like a really like rough, kind of like immature kind of art.
If people have seen Ping Pong the animation, then you kind of know what it is.
Yeah, and I really, really like it. And I love the well, if you've seen JustACoupleQnA, then you kind of know what it's about. Two boys, you know, they live in this city that's like almost like too small for them. It feels like it's a huge city, but for them it feels like really small, at least in my opinion. So it's like too small to contain these two children who just want to grow out of this city, basically.
I have a question for you.
I don't know.
When was the last time you read JustACoupleQnA?
All the way through? Why?
In general.
Pretty recently.
Really?
Well, I mean, I read it maybe a year ago. Maybe 2 years ago I read it.
Okay. Because I asked that because like I feel like when I ask this question, a lot of people would think back, but they haven't like seen or read or played that thing
I actually
for a very long time.
I don't own the movie. I own a UMD
For the PSP.
for the PSP.
Oh, we're getting old now, Sarah.
So
Magazines, UMD.
yeah. So
I'm about to whip out the laser disc now.
that's the only thing that I have it on. I haven't bought it on Blu-ray, even though I know it would look good. So whenever I watch it, I just pop my
Pop in your
up
PSP.
it in my PSP and I watch it. And you know, no hate. Like,
works.
It works, and I watch the movie, and it's a good movie. You know, I really enjoy it. I think one of the scenes that I really like is that there's this gangster guy. He's part of this like this small gang, and there's this bigger gang involved. It's not really a big deal. Anyway, one of them decides that the city isn't for them, right? And before that, he's talking about his grandma and how his grandma would send him like frozen like oranges or something. And like he ends up going back to his hometown because he can't handle the city. He just like, because his two of his friends got their ears cut off. Like,
Okay.
there's like some real, like, you know, there's some real stuff, I guess, happening in this city, right? And he's like, I can't handle this city anymore. You know, these kids are crazy. There's real gangsters out here. You know, I think it's time to pack up my bags and go home.
Real shit's about to go down.
So he's sitting on the train with his grandma, and then they're eating oranges together. Because as he goes back home, and I'm just like, I don't know, just like to me, I always remember that. I always remember that scene is when he's going back home with his grandma and he has like someone to go back to, but these kids are orphans and they have no one to go back to. So they like live in the city and the city is their home, basically. And so they have no one to actually rely on but themselves.
Is Attack on Titan a movie?
It's a movie. It's an animation.
Oh. I thought it was like a series or an OVA.
No, it's a movie. We can watch it.
How long is it?
It's about an hour or something.
Oh, that's probably because that thing looks kind of thick.
It's a short read.
Really?
Yeah. You should read it sometime.
Probably will sometime, eventually.
I don't think you'll like it.
You don't think so? How come?
I don't know. I just feel like at the end, things just kind of start happening, and you're just like, I don't know what's...
I don't know about that, because that's a similar case for 20th Century Boys.
Yeah.
Where midway through, things just happen.
Well, right? Everything happens from the perspective of Black. So I'm sorry.
Black is a character for technically.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
So their names are Kuro and Shiro. So black and white.
Yeah.
Right. So everything starts kind of happening from Black's perspective, and then White has like some like third, I don't know, he's got some sixth sense or something like that. So he can like feel things and see things that aren't really happening. And Black, you are experiencing the later chapters, you're experiencing what's happening to him. Kind of like through White, but also through Black. It's kind of like a really weird...
Okay. I feel like I need to read it in order to know what it's about.
Yeah, because you're getting dialogue from White. Sort of.
Okay.
Or he's like feeling something that Black is feeling, but Black is kind of in his own headspace.
Okay.
So he's not really... It's complicated. I don't know.
I'll give it a read at one point.
I feel like I'm really pretentious even talking about it. So...
Do you think Attack on Titan has made you more pretentious?
I feel like reading a lot of things has made me pretentious. So
Is that your artist inside you talking?
I'm just pretentious.
I don't think that's the case. I think you have your type and you kind of stick to it. I think pretentious is more of like you like your things that you kind of think everything else is kind of beneath it.
Oh no, I like Naruto.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think you're pretentious per se.
I love Naruto. I love gals. I don't know. I another manga that I thought was really like really great was 20th Century Boys. I thought that was so good.
After reading it, because I've only read it recently, like maybe a year ago now. But after reading it, it was a pretty good read. I think if I was reading it week by week, though, I think that might have been a nightmare, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think marathoning it through is the ideal way to read it.
Yeah.
Maybe not marathoning it, but you know,
I have to reread it again.
Yeah, because a lot of the things in 20th Century Boys, like in a bubble, is like, whatever, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, sure, there's climatic moments, but I think like all the events by itself, it's in whatever. But I think in context, the series as a whole is like really great. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, like when what was the main character's name again? Fuck. It's been a year. Sorry.
Kenji.
Yeah, Kenji. The dude with guitar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he comes back in the second half of the series, that felt great.
I don't know. I felt really weird about it.
Why?
Because it felt good, but then it didn't feel like Kenji. I don't know. It felt so, but maybe that was the point, right? Because he was like he's come back, and everybody thinks he's like this great guy.
Yeah.
Like this almost
everyone thinks he's like a hero or a villain, depending where you're from.
But almost like he's not even a human anymore. Yeah. Because he's like a legend.
Yeah. Kinda like Friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is like amazing, like crazy in its own sense that they've both become these legends that have like lived on through other people. And then when you see them together, then you realize like, oh, they're just
people,
two guys.
Yeah.
You know?
21st Century Boys is actually some people hate on 21st Century Boys. I dug it a lot, actually.
I don't know. It moved too slow for me. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, like I said, the marathon format is the ideal way to read 20th Century Boys and 21st.
I was reading it.
You were reading it week by week, or
week
like
by week. Yeah, I think it was when it was getting translated or something.
Yeah.
And it was getting translated pretty slowly, and then like some of the chapters were out of order. So I probably have to go back and read it again. Yeah, like the whole thing.
But I think the marathon format is the way to read it, and I think 21st Century Boys was great because 21st Century Boys, like, what's the mangaka's name again? Osamu?
Yeah. Or no, wait.
No, that's not 20th Century Boys, is it? Oh, you have it right there. Can you grab it?
Urasawa. Urasawa.
What's his first name or last name? I don't know.
It's Naoki Urasawa.
Yeah, Naoki Urasawa. Who am I thinking of when I say Osamu?
Osamu Tezuka.
Maybe. And Urasawa, like, he has his way of writing, which is super unconventional, right? But he
did Monster, by the way.
Yeah, he did Monster.
Or Pluto,
Pluto.
If you're aware of those.
They're pretentious people.
No.
I feel like Pluto is probably the most pretentious out of the three, though. Monster, 20th Century Boys, and Pluto. I feel like Pluto is the most pretentious out of the three.
I don't know
At
how
least
many people have read
the
Pluto.
Fan bases around them are the most pretentious out of the three.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that much about it, so.
Yeah, but he has this way of writing where there's two things I've noticed from his way of writing. One is that he writes things that kind of like stretches your, what is it called? Disbelief. Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Right? That it kind of like stretches the suspension of disbelief to the point where like you can barely accept what's happening in terms of the story.
Yeah.
20th Century Boys is probably like a perfect example of that. Because it kind of like jumps and jumps and jumps.
Yeah, like things just keep escalating.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, what is happening?
Yeah, like what is happening at this point? But it happens in such a natural way in context of the story that you kind of accept it, even though it gets more and more ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And 21st Century Boys, the way it wraps up the series is amazing, in my opinion.
It's honestly, from what I remember, it was so ridiculous that I was just like, I guess.
Yeah, he has that way where you don't be like, this is ridiculous, this is stupid, right? But more of like, this is ridiculous, so I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we're here.
Yeah, you kind of just accept it as what is happening instead of being like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, what was your original question? What makes me in this?
What thing or piece of media or whatever from back then has affected the way you consumed, I guess, future piece of media?
Yeah, Technical Concrete's a good one. That's a good one for me.
In what way, though?
I feel like it was memorable. But let me think of something that's like, because I went on this big rant about Tekon Concrete, which I feel a little bad about, but I really do like it.
It is a series that affected you back then. That kind of...
to me, I thought like it was so different. And it wasn't like as polished as like,
Was that like the first series that didn't have that super polished look?
For me, yeah.
That explains a lot then. Because you really like that very unpolished look in a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like in animation, I like it when it doesn't look finished.
That sounds so weird.
I love, like, even like Studio, like, Piero's, like, gross, unfinished animation. I love it. Even the ones that look terrible, I'm like, man, I love it. I don't know what it is. It's like, I love stuff that doesn't look like that's
very choppy.
Yeah. because I feel like it has a lot of energy, and I like that.
That makes sense.
So in terms of like artistry, I feel like JustACoupleQnA was a really big part of like forming the things that I liked, or I would grow into liking. But I would really have to think about something that really impacted me. Inuyasha was a really big part of my life, but because I liked it.
I mean, it was for me too. Like I watched a lot of Inuyasha. Like I still haven't seen Final Act. Don't we?
I know.
I wasn't.
Our friend keeps telling us we gotta watch it, and then whenever I see him, I still haven't seen it.
It's one of those things where like I just don't care about how it ends. Like I care about the characters enough, but I somehow don't care about how it ends though.
I can't think of something.
I mean, that's fine. You can't think of another thing
that really like really impacted me emotionally.
I mean, that's fine. That technically wasn't part of the question.
That's true.
Yeah. Because I feel like as far down we go into these topics, there's going to be more and more topics where it's going to be like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. You know, one thing that I thought of when you said nostalgia and something like that really impacted you, the first thing I thought of was Toonami Jetstream.
Oh my god. We're in tangent territory. Let's go.
No. I think this is relevant. Okay. Because Toonami Jetstream was one of the first streaming sites that I had ever been to legally.
Yeah, okay? It was a legal streaming site.
It was legal. It was
free.
It was free. I couldn't watch anything. It buffered for 30 minutes. And
it was so ahead of your time to come Jetstream. Oh my god.
But it was like, that's what I think is so important about Toonami Jetstream for me, is that all the crunchy rolls, all the verbs, high dives.
Technically the same things, but okay.
Yeah, high dive or whatever you are.
Funimation, Netflix, Hulu.
Nah, it was all about
the Toonami Jetstream. I watched almost the entirety of Prince of Tennis and Hikaru no Go through Toonami Jetstream and Zatch Bell.
How is that possible? I couldn't get anything to load.
I did the old YouTube trick where you left the tab open overnight.
Oh yeah.
And then you go back in and then you just watch it unbuffered.
No, sometimes for me, like I would do that. I would pause the video, I would leave it, and then it wouldn't move. See, it would only buffer when it played.
See, the trick is for stuff like that is you have to leave the tab open, and you can't do too many at once.
Yeah.
Oh, back in the day.
Anyway, I think that for me, Toonami Jetstream was a great start.
It was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was way ahead of its time, and I think it was like a gateway for. I don't know if it was gateway for people, but it was like a way to continue watching a show that you liked, or because you already knew about Toonami and they advertised all the time for Toonami Jetstream, then you already knew about it. And so they're like, oh, if you want to watch more Toonami, then just go on Toonami Jetstream.
The best part of the Toonami Jetstream, it was like a watch at your own convenience thing before that was a thing.
Yeah, so that's why it was like so crazy.
Yeah, Toonami Jetstream was before TiVo.
No, I had TiVo.
You had TiVo?
I had TiVo.
Well, I didn't have TiVo.
I had the peanut, as we called it.
I definitely didn't have TiVo, so it was very more significant for me than I guess you.
Yeah.
So it was very like a watch at your own convenience thing, because I did not have TiVo. I could not watch things at my own convenience.
I thought it was great. Thought it was awesome. It hardly worked. But when it did, you were like, wow, I'm watching anime on my computer legally.
Oh my god.
when you have to watch anime in 3 parts
back
on
in
YouTube.
And maybe they're not Rickrolls.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my other one, and if you have a topic, then you can go ahead and jump in.
Okay.
Or if you have another one, but I don't think you do you?
No, probably not.
Yeah. So my other thing that impacted me in the way I've seen media and stuff like that is the Drakengard series. In particular, one, and really just one, right? And if you guys want to know more about the Drakengard series, really, I can't do it justice. Go watch Klemps. Go watch Valkyrie Aurora. Like, they are the Drakengard people to talk to. Honestly. But Drakengard for me was the first piece of media or thing in general that showed me that things do not need to have a happy ending to be a compelling story.
Oh, we talked about this.
We have talked about this before, personally, between the two of us.
Yes.
But it was literally the first thing I seen where things do not need to end up happy. Things do not need to be wrapped up in a tiny bow in order to be a compelling story for me. I played Drakengard when I was like fucking 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is way too young for playing Drakengard. But it was such an interesting play for me and it's such an interesting go through that it really stuck out for me at the time. Right? And I never beat the game when I was a kid, but like later on when I decided to like, I'm going to watch the endings and watch the stuff on YouTube, whatever, and I see where everything ends up, and I realized that like no one ends up happy.
Yeah.
No matter what ending you get, no one is happy in Drakengard. Like, it made me more interested in the series rather than not. I think if it was like, happy ending, I think it would have just been one of those things where like, that's one of the things I played as a kid, and here's a happy ending, and I don't care anymore. But the fact that it didn't have a happy ending, the fact that all the characters are mostly compelling, right? And like, it stuck out to me so much that it's something that really, like stayed with me for a very long time, and it all came to a head when I played Nier. The original Nier Gestalt Replicant. I think I just played Gestalt because that's what we got in America. It all came to the head there, where there is no happy ending in Nier either. The happiest ending requires you to delete your own existence.
Wow.
Right? And that game hit me so emotionally hard also. But Nier is a better game because it doesn't have a happy ending. I think showing all the tragedy and all the shit they go to and have all their effort ultimately come up to something so kind of like either unfortunately sad, like a bad ending, or even at the happiest ending where you pretty much break even, right? Because sure, your daughter / sister is alive, but you don't exist anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, to have that kind of story to show how much they have to go through, and then to have it end up just like that, really stuck to me also. I think more stories could benefit to not having a happy ending, honestly. Like, I think there are several series out there that could benefit from not having a happy ending. You know what I mean? Off the top of my head, I can't really think of one actually, though. It's one of those things where like not everything needs to have a happy ending. Happy endings are for those people who can't accept being sad, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there are times where it's appropriate to have a happy ending, obviously. I would never want Lord of the Rings to have a sad ending. Or, to have, like, fucking Clanad to stay permanently sad.
Yeah, or like Harry Potter.
To have Harry Potter have a sad ending.
Yeah.
Right? But I feel like series like Drakengard, or if it will ever end, right? Berserk if that had a bad ending for its endgame, I think that's fine,
Yeah.
right? I think that's completely appropriate for the series.
And I don't think many people would be surprised either,
Yeah.
with Berserk's tone.
Yeah, with Berserk in general, I don't think many people will be surprised by that. So it's one of those things where like, certain stories should look at whether or not they need to have that happy ending. You know what I mean? So it really colored my way of kind of seeing the end goal for a lot of stories. Like going back to anime, like what Akata says, right? From Glass Reflection, the ending is paramount, right?
Yeah.
Which I think to a certain extent is true, right?
Yeah.
The ending is supposed to wrap everything together, and having a bad ending kind of really colors the entire rest of the series, right? But I don't think the ending should ruin a series. Color it maybe, but I don't think ruin it is another thing. Like Drakengard did have a happy ending. I don't think it will stick with me as much, but that's not going to take away from the rest of the game. The rest of the story had to give me.
Yeah.
Right. Or if Nier had a happy ending, like sure it wouldn't stick with me as hard, but it's not going to get rid of all my emotional connection with Emil and like all my journey with Kaine and like relating so much to Nier himself. Like oh, I'm gushing. But like it's not gonna take that away from me. You know what I mean? So I guess that's kind of like my topic. It's kind of sporadic, my topic, but
that's fine.
Yeah. But I feel like that's what I want to ask. And to quote Philly D, I want to pass the question back to you, to the people who are watching, right? And it could be just something that stood out to you when you were a kid, or even teenager, or even now, I guess, that really sticks with you now. Like, what is something that kind of sticks with you? And you comment. I'm not gonna like fake say it like some other YouTubers, or like I'm honestly interested in what you're gonna put down there. Like if I haven't seen it, I'll at least check it out on some level, right?
Yeah.
And if I have seen it, then I'll probably respond to it in the next episode.
Or it's just like if it's something that really like impacted you
in some way. Yeah.
In some way, it could be something like as dumb or not dumb, but something as like as simple as like, I don't know, like a SpongeBob episode, or like an episode of Sesame Street, or like Yu-Gi-Oh or something. Playing Yu-Gi-Oh with some friends or whatever. If it was something that happened to you, then it's an important experience.
Yeah.
And if it's something that impacted you, then you shouldn't feel ashamed in saying what you liked or how it affected you,
Yeah. I think that's kind of the beauty of media in general. Like media, and when I say media, I mean like literally anything that's encompassing media. I'll even put games in there, right? Games, arts, movies, anime, cartoons, TV shows, dramas, whatever. I feel like media is something that can hit you on so many different levels that it can really affect the way you see things since you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's very important for a lot of people, right? I'm saying this as an engineer, like kind of like the polar opposite of what people think of media. Like, media is super important to me, right? I think having your views affected by media is like something that's kind of like significant in growing up, right?
Yeah. For example, I don't know if this is what you mean, but like today I went over to my grandma's place and my uncle was watching some Western movies.
I love Westerns.
I don't know any of these characters. Like, I don't know these people are based off of real life people, and I had no idea who they were, and I felt so uneducated. But if you grew up around that time, then of course you knew who all these people were.
Yeah.
You know, of course you would know because they're part of that culture, right? And you know, it's like a time capsule of like what was important, you know, or what was talked about. Is that what you mean? Maybe not, but like it's like it's like
pretty similar with what I mean. Like like it's not exactly because what I was trying to talk about earlier was like
I'm gonna listen. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna listen back to this and I'm gonna be like, that's not what he meant at all.
No, because like
I'm gonna be like feeling so dumb. Like that is not what he meant.
no, because I was talking about like how media affects the way you see other pieces of media, right? But what you're talking about is like how what you grew up with kind of affects like other things you see, or even like the same things you see, right? Like if you grew up with westerns, obviously that colors the way you see westerns, right? So like for us, we grew up with anime. So that kind of colors like all future anime we see.
Yeah.
Like our experiences with all anime in general is not going to be the same as an experience of someone who just came into anime. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wonder how people like that feel. You know, I mean, not just like kids, right? You know, because there's probably plenty of kids who are getting into My Hero and just like how we were into Naruto.
Anything on Netflix, I feel like people are getting into.
Yeah, and that's fine. I just think, I don't know, it's so bizarre to hear people just talk about anime and it's like it's a normal thing.
Yeah, because we grew up in a time where like anime was super niche.
I mean, not...
And even before that, before us, it was even more niche, and there was like a very small group of people who liked anime.
Passing around
DVDs, VHSs.
When one DVD was like $20,
and when the VHS had like hard subtitles on them, or even no subtitles. My uncle had a lot of those.
It's just like really, it's like a beautifully bizarre time we live in for anime. Like it's
a natural progression. Like
yeah, of course,
it is natural. Like how something this small became like kind of more or less mainstream. I feel like it is a natural progression, but I feel like coming from when we first got into anime to now is bizarre.
Speaking of that, like JoJo, I would have never thought that JoJo would. I mean, maybe it's just me thinking that, but I feel like JoJo is so shonen, or it's so battle anime or whatever it is.
Sort of.
It's like so weird that I didn't think that it would have been popular.
It's so bizarre.
It is bizarre, but it's so, to me, I just didn't think that people would like it. But I was very wrong. And people really like it.
I think I see what you mean. Like, when I first got into JoJo, it was when Star Platinum.
I also okay.
Stardust Crusade came out.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I don't like it when people say JoJo's. I just don't like it.
You just like JoJo?
Yeah, just JoJo. Why do you gotta put the S at the end?
Well, technically, that's correct.
It's technically correct, but I don't like it. I'm sorry. Maybe it's wrong. I'm not a JoJo connoisseur. I don't know. I've never read it. I've never watched it. Maybe I should stop talking.
No, it's fine. Because I first got into JoJo in Stardust Crusaders, right? That was my first chapter of JoJo. I remember it was when Jonathan meets Joseph in the jail cell. That was my first chapter of JoJo, and then I went back recently, actually, like maybe 2 years ago. So not that recent, but recent relatively. And I decided to read most of JoJo's again, right? And like I decided to read it from the beginning. Because we got JoJo in a really weird way here, where we started with Stardust Crusaders, which is part 3. And then we went on So I read most of JoJo's up until midway in Steel Ball Run. So I'm like a veteran sort of JoJo, but not a current fan.
Sure. I mean, I have no context. So
Okay, it's like
is it like if you're
it's like if you watch Yu-Gi-Oh, but only up until 5Ds.
Oh.
Like you watch all of Yu-Gi-Oh, but only up until 5Ds. You don't care about Zexal, Arc 5.
Well, to be fair. But that's like 3.
That's a significant part,
Yeah.
right? I read up until fucking what's part was Steel Ball Run? Part 5, part 6, whatever. And they're on part 8 now. I'm not that far behind technically.
Mm-hmm.
I still read a majority of JoJo.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not a current fan anymore. Not because I don't like it. It's just because I don't care about the Steel Ball Run universe, and by extension, I just didn't care about everything after that. So, for me, watching JoJo grow into the way it is, I have to agree with you that like it was kind of out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Like JoJo always had is like really tight
following,
right?
Yeah,
Tight
of course.
following, right? And they're mostly classic fans.
Yeah.
At least before the anime came out. And then the anime came out, especially during Stardust Crusaders, and it became huge.
I don't know if it's just me, because I always knew that JoJo had a following, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the following, they were pretty, like, rabid, like, you know, if you like JoJo...
Dedicated fans. They were very dedicated.
Yeah, you loved JoJo, right? Like, because you read... Like, it's like if you liked Berserk.
You had the OVAs. You watched all the OVAs from fucking 10 years apart.
Yeah, I feel like if you liked... It's like in those recommended. If you like JoJo, you'll also be like the same kind of fan who likes Berserk.
Sort of.
Well, you know, in the fact that you will wait, or maybe you're the same kind of fan as Hunter x Hunter.
Oh God.
Hunter x Hunter, where it's like you'll just wait forever for things to happen, or you'll stick around forever, you know.
Hmm.
And like I don't know, like it was just like really weird for me to see like JoJo being so popular. I don't know.
I think it's weird for me to see it mainstream. I'm used to seeing it popular, honestly. Right?
Well, I'm sorry, but that's what I mean, is to see it mainstream. To see it along with, you know, like, not like Shingeki, kind of like big.
Even Shingeki's not that mainstream anymore.
But I'm saying, you know what I'm...
It's seeing along like My Hero, basically.
Yeah.
Or like seeing along kind of like Sword Art or hyped up this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was reading JoJo was during the time where it was the most popular, right? The most popular before the anime. Wait, then it was definitely before more than 2 years ago. I definitely read most of JoJo before the anime came out. I'm just gonna say that. Because I heard about the anime coming out and I was like, oh, I might as well reread it, and I basically speed read up until Steel Ball Run, right? But I was reading it during like the peak of its kind of underground popularity. I watched the OVAs before I read the manga, so I know how popular it was even before that. But to see it like the anime come out, and it was like, okay, like, you know, Phantom Blood not bad, and then like Stardust Crusaders come out and it becomes like this huge thing all of a sudden, was very jarring to me.
Is that the one with the Josuke or whatever his name is?
Josuke is part 4.
Oh.
Jonathan, Joseph. Oh, no, it might be Josuke. God, I'm forgetting. It's been a while. It's been a long while. Sorry, guys. Sorry, all the JoJo fans out there. I just can't remember right now.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to all the fans out there. I just can't remember right now. I don't have any show notes on me, so, and all this is just off the cuff, so I can't just look things up.
Well, let's move on from JoJo, because I feel like we could be talking about JoJo for a while. And if we...
I think I just exhausted everything I had to say.
Well,
I don't have a lot to say about JoJo, honestly.
Anyway, what I'm saying is maybe we should move on from JoJo. I'm trying to think of, do you have something other than like an anime or a video game, you know, that was like really impactful to you? Like, let's just say like a feature film or something.
Star Wars. Star Wars was a huge part of my childhood. My first experience with Star Wars was the VHS special editions, which to most people, not the ideal way. I agree to a certain extent. They're a good way to get into Star Wars, especially as a kid, honestly. Because as a kid during that time, you would take any way to get into Star Wars. But Star Wars to me was the thing to make me a nerd. Right? If the video games wasn't enough, it was definitely Star Wars. Easily. Because Star Wars is what made me fall in love with both science fiction and fantasy.
But now it's cool to like Star Wars.
Now it's cool to like Star Wars. Now it's cool to be a nerd.
Yeah.
You didn't have to struggle like I did when I was a kid.
Please.
Now people struggled way harder than I did when it was actually a bad thing to be a nerd. But Star Wars made me fall in love with both fantasy and science fiction. And after Star Wars, it was Lord of the Rings. Right? Because I watched Lord of the Rings like almost right after Star Wars, like maybe a year after. And man, was that was I a huge nerd at that point? Was I a huge Lord of the Rings fan at that point? I was basically playing D&D before I actually knew how to play D&D, where I would make my own fantasy worlds, or like think of my own fantasy worlds, and like try to think of like all these like races, stories, and like how I'm the main character basically.
Well,
I went through my own chuny phase in my head. Thank God it was only in my head, honestly. For those who don't know, chunimbyo is a Japanese term meaning like 8th grade syndrome, right? Where basically you become like it's kind of,
you become an edgelord.
Not even that 100% of the time.
But I mean, you like role play as like this like edgy character from
you were like role play, and you were like
think of
you
like,
were like the chosen one or whatever.
Think of it like you're Sephiroth, but like in you're in 8th grade, and you're like, I am like,
you kind of like self-insert
I am a
yourself.
fallen angel.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God, like most of my chuny phase was just in my head, right?
Yeah.
I didn't like outwardly do it ever, really. It was mostly in my head, and when I was like privately in my own room, I'm about to embarrass the shit out of myself right now. I don't give a shit. When I was like private in my own room, I would like do all the motions in my room, kind of like LARPing. Ooh, am I super sexy to you right now, Sarah?
Oh, darling, you're always, yeah, always that.
Where like, I will have like these fantasy scenarios in my head where I am the hero, or I am a lot less of an edgelord, honestly. I did have my edgelord moments. Like,
I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah, Infinite Dark Angel much, yes. Like I did have my edgelord moments, but it was a lot more, thinking back on it, it was a lot more lighthearted than it was edgy. Like it was very much like I'm the hero, right?
Yeah, that's cute. I am the hero.
Like I'm the hero. I'm the person who will save the world, and I have all these special powers, right? It was never like, ooh, brooding, edgy. I will kill you because that's the easiest way out or whatever.
I have a good example for, well, not just stating the what's that? There was an anime about a chunibyo, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it called just chunibyo?
Well, it's chunibyo, Love and Other Delusions.
Yeah. So not including that one, but like, I'm just gonna include one that's on Netflix. If you ever watch what's it called?
Psyche Kuso.
I mean, I don't remember what it's called on Netflix.
Disastrous Life on
Psyche K.
Yeah, Psyche K.
Yeah, Psyche Kuso no Sainan. Like, if you...
Dropping all the titles right now.
Yeah, if you watch Psyche K, right, on Netflix, Kaido, or whatever his name is...
He is the example of a
He is a chunibyo.
Yeah.
He is exactly that.
I don't know, like, what's an American example of a chunibyo, though. I don't think there is one right now. Or not, at least not off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure there is one.
Probably. Yeah, probably. You probably knew some, like, weird kid.
Yeah. Even if it's not like a chunibyo by the traditional sense, like the anime edgelord chunibyo, you probably knew some kid who just loved playing pretend.
Yeah. Or he, like, wore a trench coat and a fedora.
I just said, like, not like the edgy...
Oh, I knew someone like that.
I mean, I know you did, but, like... but I mean by, like you knew someone who, like, loved playing pretend. Or loved to play in their own world. Right? And that's not a bad thing. I think as a kid, that's perfectly acceptable. Right?
Yeah, I think as an adult, then you become a little delusional.
I'll be honest, right? Even now, I still like to not imagine myself, right? But I still like to imagine, like, kind of like isekai stories in my head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, like, you're not necessarily, like, self-inserting yourself, but it's more of, like, creating, like scenarios and stories in your head. And they're usually always bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, bad stories. But they're fun to think about.
Yeah.
You know? To think about, like, superpowers and stuff like that. Or, like, having you, like, fight the demon lord or do these, like, fantasy quests or whatever. They're always fun to think about. Like, so I guess in a way I never grew out of my chuny things, right? But it's a lot more like...
Maybe you grew up with them.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, I technically had never stopped doing those motion thingies to myself. In a very technical way.
When have you been doing that?
They're never, like, super outwardly, like, when I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
Right? But they're always, like, it will always be, like I'm in the shower, right? It's, like, those shower thoughts things, right? Or, like, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh. I just think of you, like, you, like...
doing kung fu moves in the shower.
Yeah.
It's never like that.
Okay.
Right? But it was always, like playing pretend to myself. You know?
Yeah.
I never grew out of that.
Just imagine you, like, beating up putties in, like, the shower and stuff. Take that, fiend.
But I never grew out of my pretend phase. I still do it every so often, especially when I daydream. Like, I still do it. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think a lot of people want that form of, like, escapism.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think wanting it and actually, you know, trying to do it is two different things. I think if you're trying to do escapism, like if you're not accepting reality, that's when it becomes delusional.
Oh, yeah.
That's the literal definition at that point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think wanting it, like, I want to, like, escape into a fantasy world and live a fantasy magic gamey life.
Yeah.
Because
cool.
Because I think the appeal of that is that life is a lot simpler. Right?
Or, you know, or so you think.
Or so you think. On a certain level, it's a lot simpler. Because the entire point is that, like, it's not based off, like, everything's more gamey.
Yeah.
Rather than being real.
Yeah.
Everything's more gamey in fantasy worlds, right? But you get strong off just killing things and you just get these experience points or whatever. Yeah. Or, like, even in, like, a traditional fantasy world, like, everything is kind of, like, given to you in the beginning. And you kind of just grow into whatever thing you are destined to be.
Yeah.
You're destined to be a knight in Forgotten Realms, then so be it. But you're destined to be a farmer who happens to make bread on the side, then so be it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it just ends up being simpler that way. And I think a lot of people want that.
I think people just want to live simply, without having to worry about other bigger problems,
Yeah. In a way. No, completely like that.
Yeah.
I think we've filled enough tangents in this episode. We jumped around a lot. Is there a topic that you want to bring up? Or I think you're good.
I think just because it's the name of our podcast, I think we should bring up a story of us. I feel like every podcast, every time we do this, we should bring up at least one story. Like,
we're gonna run out.
We are going to run out eventually, But for now, I mean, I think we should bring up something.
Well, what do you want to bring up?
I don't know. Maybe let's do our first date.
Oh God, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think because our first date, I think, is a great story.
I think our first date is a perfect example of a relationship could spawn off anything.
Yeah. Especially because I told this story to my classmate, right? And I told her, this is what happened in my first date.
It wasn't even necessarily like a bad date. It just wasn't
like how
a good date.
Yeah, it was more like, why would you continue to date?
Yeah.
After this first date.
Yeah. It's not like we didn't like each other. It's more of like the date itself wasn't good.
Yeah.
Because do you want me to tell the story or do you want to tell the story?
I think I can tell it. I don't think I'll do a good job, but not a very good storyteller, but so, and you'll let me know if things aren't right, because sometimes I tend to exaggerate. So it was our first date. Were you late to this one?
Sort of.
I think you were kind of late. We're already off to a bad start.
I was sort of late. I remember I got there early, actually. But you weren't there yet, so I kind of wandered around. I think when you came, I wasn't there.
Right.
Yeah.
And my dad was upset.
Yep.
My dad was so mad.
Which is understandable. I wasn't there when you were there, so... I just so happened to be wandering around at that time because it was near a mall. So I was just like, I'll just run around a bit and I'll come back. I just didn't come back on time.
Yeah. So my dad, we had pulled up and he's like, where is he? And I'm like, I don't know. and he's like, I can't believe this. I can't believe he's making my daughter wait. We're going home right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we drove home and I called you and was like, hey, where were you? Because like my dad drove me home because you weren't there. And you were like, oh, well, I'm here now, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically like, yeah, I'm there now. Yeah, I'm here.
So we drove back.
I felt bad, yeah.
Yeah, because we were going to go see, Green Lantern.
Yeah. The Green Lantern movie.
With
Great
Ryan
movie.
Reynolds.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern. So, at that time, we didn't really talk about movies too much.
Mm-mm.
So
it was our first date. So it was during a time where neither of us knew each other's opinions about movies. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know that I'm super critical about movies. And I didn't know that you... I don't even know what you thought about movies at that time.
I didn't really think too much about them.
Yeah.
So, we went to go see the movie. We didn't talk, I don't think, at all for the entire movie.
We talked a bit. We were just commenting on the movie, but we talked a bit.
What did we talk about?
We just stuff like, I bet he's the villain. Or like...
Oh, yeah.
Or like, why didn't he just make that? Or something like that.
I think there was a scene in the movie that I'm like, I know this song. And then...
And that's it.
Yeah, that was about it. So we walked out of the theater. We went to
Get
Froyo. And we talked for a bit. And then I left.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it.
That was our first date, guys. And that's the end of the pot now.
That was it. And then we broke up soon after.
Yeah, we did, actually.
Yeah, we broke up soon after that. So really, I mean, did it really work out?
In a way, I think it worked out.
Yeah. The date wasn't that bad. Like, it wasn't like a deal breaker for me. I think it was like because we hadn't really seen each other for a while after that. So I thought I think I was like, well.
You thought I lost interest?
I don't know if you lost interest or I was just like, I don't know if I feel anything. So maybe we should just break up.
Yeah. You want to leave it there? Or you want to continue on?
No, I'm just saying like your first date isn't like from my first date wasn't like magical.
It was far from perfect.
You know, and it makes sense if that's their first date ever, right?
Especially if you're our age in high school.
Yeah, because you have
options are super limited.
You have to remember that we're high school sweethearts. So, you know, we have made a lot of mistakes and we have to grow. We basically like grew into each other, if that makes sense. Like, you know how some people like they're our age, but they meet and then they're like, oh, well, you're already like a full-fledged adult. You know, you already know what you want. But when you're in high school and then you go into college, you have no idea what you want. And then the things that you might want change. So that's why it's really hard to maintain a high school relationship because you grow up and your priorities change. They're not the same as they were in high school. So
and I think that's fine. And like we talked about, I think, was it the first podcast where it was like not all relationships are going to work out.
Yes.
Yeah. Like not all relationships are going to work out. And I think that's perfectly fine. Like I'm lucky. I got Sarah. So I'm lucky. But I think it's also fine. And it may be weird coming from a guy who's already in a relationship, right? But I think it's perfectly fine for relationships not to work out. I think that's just how people are sometimes. Where you want to find people who are compatible to you, and sometimes you just find people who are not compatible.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. When we had our first date and it did not go well, not to say it went badly, but it definitely did not go well.
Do you remember what you thought after
the movie?
After our date? Do you remember how you felt?
About the date?
Yeah.
I just thought it was like a date. I didn't think it went well. Because, you know, it was a bad movie. I think... I remember at the end, ideally, I wanted it to go longer. Right? Because you left her... You had to leave. And then I basically was just sitting there and waiting for my ride to come. Right? Because you basically got Froyo and I guess this is it, right?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking I wanted to go longer because I wanted to talk to you more. At the very least, hang out more, right?
Yeah.
Because, we watched a movie and we got Froyo, but we didn't talk through the movie. And then we just got Froyo. So it was very minimal, our interaction with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if movie dates are the best first dates to have. I think movies are good supplementals.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's a great first date to have. I think...
amusement parks.
Okay. In terms of high school.
The zoo?
In terms of high school. The zoo is kind of hard to get to for high schoolers. Unless you have a local zoo.
You can go to the mall?
Yeah, a mall, something like that. I think...
You can go to the city?
City, San Francisco.
Oh,
for us.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the idea of a first date, or even just a date in general, if you don't know each other, is to have a way just to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire time. Maybe not the entire time, or just get to know each other.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the whole point of a date. I think later on, doing all the romantic stuff and having movies and romantic dinners, that can come later.
Yeah.
Get to know each other first.
Yeah. That's the whole point of a date, is to figure out each other and see if you're even compatible in the first place, I feel like. You know?
No, you might be completely wrong. We don't go on that many dates.
Yeah, I only went on one.
Ouch. One day, I see how it is.
Well, you know.
Ouch.
No, that's not what I meant. You know what I mean.
I guess all those other days to me didn't mean anything.
Wow. Oh, boo-hoo. Oh, poor me.
I mean, okay, to be fair, I think we went on less than 10 dates total.
In our whole relationship?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like less than 10 actual dates.
We go to Target.
Do you really count that as a date?
We have Target dates.
Target dates.
I like those. Those are nice.
I don't know if I count those like actual dates though.
They're not actual dates, but they mean a lot to me.
I mean, that's fine. I'm just saying. I don't think they're like actual dates.
Where did we went to the zoo together?
Yeah, that was an actual date.
We went to
dinner in the city together. That was an actual date. We went on actual dates, don't get me wrong. I just don't think we went on that many. I think you'll agree with that.
Yeah.
We don't go on that many dates.
We don't go on that many dates, but you try very hard to make it work. And then I always forget. And so I always schedule something on the same weekend. So
my point is that you don't need to have like dates necessarily to make a relationship work. You know? I think to make a relationship work is just to have compatibility. No. I'm gonna put it in a way that makes sense to me, and I don't really care if people don't understand it. I think the point of having a relationship and dates is to have a partner that you can reconnect with. Right? I think dates are just a good way to find that and a good way just to connect with them. And I think a relationship is just doing that. Connecting with them.
Every day.
Not necessarily every day, but most days.
That's true. You might not see them every day.
That's fine. I think people get too hung up on like being with their significant other all the time, or having their like entire life revolve around their significant other.
I can understand if you're in a long distance relationship. That makes sense to me. But sometimes, like, sometimes I've had people come up to me and ask me, like, because I tell them, sometimes you're playing in the front with the PS4 and I'm in here watching YouTube videos. And they're like, oh, that's so sad. I'm like, is it?
We're just doing our own thing.
Yeah, I'm happy watching YouTube videos. He doesn't want to listen to the stuff I'm watching, and I don't want to listen to the stuff he's playing. So, like, after a while, it's like, at least for us, I mean, we wanted to spend a lot of time together when we were first going out, I think.
I think anybody first going out want to spend a long time with their other person.
But I think as you become more comfortable, then you're like, I don't need to see them all the time. Especially us, because we live together. So I see you all the time. Yeah. But that doesn't mean I appreciate you.
I think even down the line in your relationship, you don't need to see them all the time. Even if you don't live with each other. I think to have them on your mind all the time is fine. Right? But I think, just having, time with yourself, or just having days where you just don't see them, but you keep in touch. I think that's fine.
I think having time to yourself is really important in a relationship. And I think people can forget that, you and your partner are different people. You're separate people. You don't always have to be a package. Kevin and I are most of the time a package. But that doesn't mean I can't go somewhere without him, or he can't go somewhere without me. Yeah. Or he can't enjoy the things that he likes. Like, he likes D&D. I don't really dig it. So I'm not going to say, well, since I don't like it, you can't go. Or if he likes it, I don't have to go. Anyway.
I think that's a decent place to end it.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop for today.
Yeah.
But
talking about media and like the stuff we like, and then some relationship advice just sprinkled in there.
Yeah. I mean, it is part of our podcast name, as my coworker pointed out. He's like, I'm looking for, where's the advice? And I'm like, okay,
It's just a couple thoughts, not
Yeah.
just a couple of advice.
Yeah. He's like, where's the couple bit? And I'm like, the whole
VR?
Yeah. I'm like, the whole thing's not totally about like couple like stuff. We'd run out of things really quick. We
Yeah.
might have 7 years, but 7 years isn't a lot when it
It
comes
can
to
feel like a short amount of time, really.
yeah. And there's not a lot I want to share, okay? I mean, just being honest, there's some things about our relationship I'm not interested in sharing, so
We're pretty open, but we're not that open.
yeah. I'm gonna be honest. So
But if there is anybody out there watching that needs relationship advice, leave a comment and we'll help out.
yeah.
No guarantee that it's going to be 100% useful.
Or maybe
we will be honest.
Maybe we should set up that email that I talked about last time.
I feel like the comments are just fine for now.
Okay.
For now, we will set up an email if it ever gets too big.
I hope it does.
I hope it does too.
I hope it does.
Or it ever becomes like a hassle just looking through all the comments.
Or if
and
you
at
don't,
that point, I will add the email to all the descriptions of the episodes before it.
Or if you didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, we're just posting it publicly.
Yeah.
But even then, you could send messages privately on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
I will check there too.
You can do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And if you can't, I'm pretty sure. But if you can't, yes, I will set up an email. Anyways, thank you guys for listening to episode 3.
Yeah.
Just a couple thoughts.
Episode 3.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.